goal that pushed Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
Ruby and Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the frame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Mustafa Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Wait a minute.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to see the Hudders win away after 3 months. Town also overturned a deficit of going behind and winning a game for the first time in 30 attempts, spanning almost 13 months. So good job to Carlos and the boys. And there's the Estrella at the top of the Takes That Chance Christmas tree. It's Kosi Bear. A little bit under wraps as we're still really in a test pilot phase. But should this go well, it'll be full steam ahead for the next few episodes.
But we got us booster on Saturday, and then we got another one today.
Treats. This episode is sponsored by Magic Rock Brewing, and I have some news. Receive a town fan pack and a glass as a mid-season prize, and they've got some decent food on down there for their from their local food trader. Poz, we've got pulled pork sandwiches, hash brown stacks, grilled halloumi, and flat. Are you going to talk us through this cartoon that's appeared on some Magic Rock 24-inch pythons, doesn't he, on the on this new T-shirt that's come out? A little bit alarming, I'll be honest.
Between Magic Rock Town and Peter O'Toole, the football shirt that they've designed, which is available. I think it'd make an absolutely cracking third kit. It's obviously done in the usual style of Magic Rock with a quite. I don't know much about art, but a few of us have just asked us to send some pictures in for his promotional material to assist him with that. So, Magic Rock seem really getting involved at the moment with town stuff, which is great.
Okay, so of this game. But one man who didn't miss the game was the man back from Spain, and that's Mr. Kosi Bear. How did you see this game? So good mental strength to come from behind, especially after...
Proper spitting the dummy out after the game as well, so that was sweet. But yeah, fantastic. In classic town, nuts and makes absolutely no sense. It pays my wages working for... I think our game, most people, Bristol, on a decent run at home, but it was our day, and we won to it. And a certain Mr. Neil Wayne, and... because I was just stunned how much space they were giving us, Bristol. We were rampaging forward. This were like nothing I've ever seen for some weeks, and I think this moment. But again, it's kind of going to be education for him on his first kind of season with the big boys. And again, body blow, disappointing. I mean, place we don't go in. So, but then after that, fantastic. And our front three were sensational. Sinani, Holmes, and especially Ward. And they couldn't cope with us. We were rampaging forward so much. And you're watching that thinking, yeah, the game's kind of done. It went past 80 minutes. Obviously, we had the stoppage for the the carry-on, which we'll come on to later on. And but just fantastic. And yeah, don't know where it came from, that, because the Coventry game were just polar opposite to that. We were vibrant, we were fast, we looked a good side, and great win.
Poz, what do you reckon? Good save or bad miss? I'd go good save. Dan Bentley, it's one of those Alex Smithies type penalties where he's pointing, isn't he? You're going that way, and save really, despite the height on that. I think it's a cracking save from Dan Bentley.
Yeah, I think with penalties, the absolute bare minimum for us, it's a good penalty in it because it's gone in. No one ever takes a good penalty. No one ever takes a bad penalty that goes in. If it goes in, it's classed as a good penalty. So for me, I'd go with you, Matt. Good save.
Well, he'd set Danny Ward up against Coventry, and it's almost a carbon copy of that passing. Daniel Sinani had a bit of a drop off, didn't he? And then I think he's been away with a illness or COVID, and he was back. It was good to see those three players really causing problems, because those are the main outlets that we've got. And Dwayne's taken that goal really well, hasn't he? Pause. Anyone?
Yeah,
finish. Sorry, yeah, pause.
And finished well. I think Sinani being in the team pushes everybody forward a little bit more, which probably allows Toffolo that a little bit extra freedom down that left-hand side. So, long may that continue, because when Carlos came in, we heard about this attacking style, the left, Holmes through the middle, Ward always gives you that sort of work rate up front. So it was nice to watch again about Carlos and the way that he plays and the way that he sets up. So it's nice to almost get back to what we were kind of
as well, because he's playing well at the moment.
He is. Like, we know he's not going to, get 20 goals on that as well, but he was everywhere. And it's a character building test, isn't it? I mean, we don't want to waste him in the main striker, really. This is a penalty. Heads can go. They're still not playing really well in that as well, but we're absolutely fantastic as well. And I'm really liking him at the moment, mate. I won't, can't have him not. He's been really, really good. And I think maybe, Matt, when we look back, and because obviously we've been critical as well, but we really criticised the team in the Football League paper in that article on Sunday. But we have got players that, on the day that are really good. The good thing is all three were just fantastic. You know what? It bears absolutely no... I'm trying to think of words. It bears no... Just don't go to the game on stats against Blackpool and top four are kind of wobbling at the moment as well. So to me, people would look at it in the form table and stuff, and Bristol's almost thinking that was like a surprise, but can anything be a surprise in this ridiculous division? But
look out for our Christmas video, which is going to be released on Christmas Eve. Christmas video
released at Christmas.
There you go. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought?
Feed the World come out again. Didn't it? So maybe it could come back out again, man.
Feed the ward. Let him know it's Christmas time. Towards the end, it's been a bit of a theme, hasn't it, Poz, where the sort of last 20, 30 minutes of game, Town tend to just retreat a little bit just to try and hold on to what they've got. And I think there were shades of that again, and Town, I wouldn't say punished. Bristol City scored to make it 3-2 in the 97th minute, which maybe made a few seconds a little bit uneasy than maybe what they would. And like Kosi says, maybe gave Bristol City a flattering look to the scoreline as well. But one sort of incident, Kosi, and we'll bring this on to something you've got, and there's a little bit of an unsavoury bottle throwing incident at Sorba Thomas, who did well to walk away from the situation, and Dwayne sort of helped him de-escalate that, which was good from those two. This seems to be, I'm not going to sort of start harassing Bristol City about this, but it just seems to be sneaking into football. I don't know if this is the lockdown, people sort of with pent-up aggression, anger with what's going on in the country and COVID at the minute. But there just seems to be a lot of this. You look at, the Chesties down the road have had 3 incidents in 3 weeks of homophobia, racism, and throwing missiles. And Bristol City, everyone's at it. And, it's happening all over the country. It's not just a Bristol City thing, but this seems to be creeping in, doesn't it? And it's just something that you don't really want to see coming back, isn't it?
Well, a strange incident, Matt, because it was one of those where you could see the bottle being launched. The Bristol City guy was absolute melt on the commentary, by the way. He was questioning Dwayne Holmes' character because of what Wayne Rooney was saying. Honestly, with that, I think he had an issue with us. But it was clear that there was something more bigger, because he went to the corner. Obviously, I think Sinani, well, you know what, mate? Gestures happened, don't there, and that as well. It's not as if he slid into the Bristol City fans and that as well. But there were a gesture like you were crying and what have you and that as well. But that kind of got the age going and that as well. And then obviously when it came back, it's like, but it escalated really quickly and stuff, because there was more stuff getting thrown on. And I think the thing was that obviously we didn't know what was being said, but it was clear there was something more than just a few objects being thrown. And then obviously it's come out about kind of racist comments on that as well. And I've tweeted today, and again, it's bad, and it reflects society, I'm afraid, at the moment, where you have got some horrible people. And apparently the guy is 62 years old who's kind of made these racist comments, which, Christ, it makes you think about his families and his children, if he's got them, what they're going to be growing up. But the best thing to come out of this is a fantastic, if someone looks at my Twitter today, I've just tweeted a Bristol Post, so the guy who sorted the, in fact, I want to read it out on that as well. So, Pozza, you talk a little bit about the incident, and I'll come back with it, because it's
good to see you prepared, Kosi.
It's quite heartwarming. Yeah.
No, I think you're right, Matt. I think this season at games, certainly not just towards players, but in the crowd in general, there's probably been more incidents of trouble this season than I can remember in past 10 down at Town. Certainly within the immediate vicinity they had when we played Hull, there were bottles being thrown across the Hull fans, and then obviously Town fans retaliated by chucking them back. There were trouble outside against West Brom. Another couple of games it just seems to be a bit like you say, maybe that built up tension from everything else that's going on in the world and football. I've always seen football as a little bit of an outlet to release stresses of the work, of your daily life. But that's to do in a different way than trying to attack opposition fans and players. You shout and scream and you sing and all that sort of stuff, and to try and throw a bottle at a player for whatever reason is outrageous, really. And I think as fans, the players, I mean, it's tough one. We've all stood up and abused a footballer because he's done something wrong or whatever, or perceived to have done something wrong. But if that footballer then gives you a little bit back, you've got to be able to take that. You can't be a fan and say, well, I'm going to chant that this guy's an X, Y, and Z. But if he gives me a little bit of grief back, he's in the wrong. They're only people at the end of the day. Yeah, they're there to do a job, and they're professionals by the very nature of the name. But if I had 20,000 people calling me every name under the sun and I were winning 3-1, I'd give them a little bit of banter back. And that's how it should be. It should just stay at banter. To start being racist or homophobic or, violent by throwing bottles at players and stuff like that, it's just bang out of order, really, isn't it?
So this guy is an hero. It's called Leon Oakes. It's fantastic. He said here, I was there with my 2 children. I've got a boy and a girl, and I took 3 of their friends. So I was there with 5 kids. We sat near the front with the mascots, and it was a great day. Huddersfield scored their 3rd goal, and the players came up to our corner to celebrate the goal. As soon as that happened, there was loads of racist abuse thrown their way. It was get back to your own country, that sort of thing. They used the N-word. It was really, really shocking. At first, I did a double take, thinking, did I just really hear this? And then this voice shouted again for a second time. This is where it's brilliant, though, because this is where you sometimes lose your faith in humanity. But this guy, what a legend. I thought to myself, I've really got to do something about this. I turned to see where it come from, and if anyone was doing anything, but they weren't. Nothing was happening about it. So I sent the kids off together to go and get some sweets so they wouldn't be watching. I went up the steps about 7 or 8 rows back to where it come from. There was a group of blokes sat there, and I just said to the whole crowd in that area, and who would do this, to be fair? What a guy. He said, this came from one of you. Tell me who it was. And someone is going to tell me who it was and that as well. He said, they didn't say much, but I stood my ground and got a bit more forceful and said I would be taking them all out if necessary. and a few of them all pointed to this guy in a check shirt and that as well. He didn't deny it. He didn't apologise. He only said, well, they shouldn't be celebrating at our end, shouldn't they? Should they? I was amazed. 20 minutes before this, they were cheering on the black players on our team, and yet here he was shouting this. Everyone in this section heard it. Families, children, everyone. It was sickening. He said he looked around for the steward, and one was standing nearby watching their argument. He was on his own. He looked reluctant to get involved. I said to him, if you don't get him out, I will. So he went over, and soon 5 or 6 stewards came out, and they were discussing it with a while. They didn't seem that keen on acting. I didn't back down. I said, are you actually going to do something about this? Other people heard, they'd say it was definitely him. And then there was all the commotion on the pitch and that as well. The police took my number and blah, blah, blah. But basically, it sounds like that, obviously, one hero who's looked bigger than his club, bigger than anything really, has gone in there and done what most people want to do who would be intimidated. And it really pisses me off, does this, because how many times do you see stuff like text, we get it at town, text 0782 thing and which row you're on and stuff like that. And half the stuff just don't get done. And it's just like, to me, that is kind of a standard thing that happened on Saturday, what he was saying, that the steward reluctant to get involved. And I suppose you can't blame it, but this guy, we're bigger than that. And I just don't know, it makes me feel really sad. And such a strange incident. There's no real history of Bristol and Huddersfield. But again, it's just obviously someone can't take the result and that as well. But racist stuff, so he needs to keep that out of the ground. But let's hope he gets a life ban, mate, from Bristol City, because you don't want any people like that. But it just depresses you because he's probably got kids and grandchildren and stuff, and you wonder what they're going to be like. But we've all lost this shit. We all get mad. I mean, I didn't agree any of that James McLean stuff and that. I don't care what side of political, kind of religious views and that as well. That was bang out of order with that for me that day against Stoke, and that got stopped. But some people just think they can come into the ground and say what they want, and for me, they can't. Yeah, it was an unfortunate incident, but I think I just wanted to highlight there the positive, really, the guy.
Fair play to that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like, it'd be nice. I know we're only doing the nice thing, but I don't know, when we play him at home, could we, I don't know, if he's coming up to watch, couldn't we, I don't know, look after him? I don't know, just a nice thing out of an awful situation.
Yeah, like I say, there's some absolute savage bellendery going on, isn't there, up and down the country at football grounds at the minute. And it's good to know that, decent people like him will challenge, unacceptable behaviour like that. I'm not sure if I'd dare do it, to be honest. I don't know if I'm brave enough to do that. But it's good to see that people are challenging that, and hopefully that guy gets what he deserves, and that's not to see another Bristol City game again.
Yeah, did you see that? I don't know if you saw it the other week, Norwich and Manchester United. There's obviously the thin divide between the fans and that as well. And there were two guys, and honestly, again, they looked in the 50s and 60s doing the Munich thing. And it showed, again, a young guy on the video, because it was good, like, again, kind of, I think Ian Wright, Shearer, what have you, so we're all getting retweeted. So obviously these guys are going to get it, and probably banned from the ground. But there were a young guy kind of pointing out when they were doing it, because I don't know if it's drunk or what have you, like, it's wrong, so there are good people in there that are standing up to some of this, there's some of these scumbags and stuff, but the trouble is it's kind of a mob rule and it's a difficult kind of situation, but there are good people there, but it's just a shame. I can't believe it though, like you think the older you get, the wiser you get, but some of this stuff, it's shocking really.
Yeah, so
it's even more shocking, like the fella said, sorry mate, if they're cheering on the black players of Bristol City, then then to abuse a black player of Huddersfield Town for the colour of the skin when they've just spent 10 minutes cheering for somebody else with the same skin colour, it's ridiculous, really, isn't it? So yeah, like I say, fair play to him and Kosi, if he does come up to Bristol, then if he makes himself known, I'm sure the club or us can buy him a beer maybe or whatever.
Yeah,
buy him a pack.
Take him to Magic Rock.
Yeah, get him leathered. Yeah, get him leathered. Yeah. No, that's good too. We're actually starting to. I've just posted the link on YouTube, so it's on Twitter. So to see if we get anybody join us live. So we've got 9 people watching at the minute. So like I say, this is just a test pilot, just to make sure that everything goes quite well, so we can bring back the lives in future. And we've got Terry N72 7N2 Mike. So he says, "Hi lads, great to see you live back. Hope you're all well." Not too bad, are we? We're not too bad. These two here have got the boosters and they're all happy at you at the minute. Looking forward to Christmas. And Oliver Barnes says, "Great to see live episodes again. Bring back lockdown PTSD though." So there we go. So the guys, let us know what you thought of the Bristol game, and I'll read some comments out as well.
This is going to be controversial, this, right? But I'm going to say I've not been on for a few weeks and stuff like that. There's 100%. A lot of people wanted Carlos to leave Huddersfield Town. There's no doubt about that. Mm. So on Saturday, it pissed on a lot of people's bonfires as that result. And the sound and the name people, but they won't say well done Town and stuff. They go into the shell waiting for the next thing to come, the next defeat and that, so they can kind of change it. I think Carlos's crime, which I think you kind of retweeted and mentioned it must have been mentioned in the warm-up pod and that as well. Probably just didn't listen to it, but if Carlos were a Peter Jackson, if Carlos were a Neil Warnock, or if Carlos were a David Wagner, I don't think people would have the issue. The league position, what have you. Yes, okay, some of the football under them guys were pretty bang average as well, let me tell you that. But I think because Carlos is kind of Spanish, he's totally different, he's an introvert, not an extrovert, he's not kind of media savvy compared to the other ones. I think this is one of the reasons people are against him, and I honestly think that. And
it's just a connection.
It's just made up their mind that they want Carlos out there. And
it's a connection, mate.
It's weird reasons for me.
No, I understand it. We were talking about this last week, weren't we, Poz? And it's like we're 10th in the league at the minute, or 11th, are we? 10th, aren't we? Or 11th, I can't remember if Sheffield United went above us. But, we're way above the expectancy of where we were, but everybody's sort of saying, I'm bored, I'm not enjoying it, and there is no connection with the manager, and it is really strange. I don't think it's because he's Spanish, but I do think it's partly because he's difficult to understand for a lot of people because he's got a thick Spanish accent, and he's difficult to listen to because it's all one-toned as well, and people don't warm to the personality. And I think when you look back at previous Town managers, David Wagner, massive personality, Peter Jackson, Mick Buxton, Neil Warnock, have we warmed to anyone else outside of that little clique there? I'm not entirely sure. Chris Powell, Mark Robbins, all quite dull. And I think
Brian Orton.
Yeah, I think if Town fans don't connect with a manager, they don't get the graces maybe that the likes of Jacko, before he left the second time. The football was really, really bad, and we were losing 3-0 at home to Brighton, who weren't very good then, and other teams like Bristol Rovers, and it wasn't good. But we're 10th in the league. Almost the start of a Warnock rant, this, isn't it? We're 10th in the league and we've got 4,000 fans, but these fans are just sort of not overly happy, and I understand it. I do understand it, and I haven't warmed to Carlos particularly. I wouldn't be sorry to see him go, but I don't think he should go because we're 10th in the league and we're actually overachieving of where everyone said we should be. So I'm quite happy to temper that, but I am a little bit bored, I'll admit. But like Poz always says, if you win a game of football, no one really cares afterwards what they've seen, do they? Just keep winning, Carlos. I think is the message.
Yeah, we the pretty much the whole of the last the whole of the last pod we're pretty much discussing a little bit of what you've touched on there, because obviously you were out in Spain, so you might not have heard it, but we were trying to sum up our own views on Carlos, and again I've been thinking about it in prior to this pod, and I don't really have a view either way. It's really strange. A bit like Matt says, if he goes, he goes. If he stays, he stays. But take the league table and just show that to somebody and said, would you sack your manager? Everyone would be like, well, no, we're 2 points off at playoffs at Christmas. Look at the squad that you've got. Is that a position that they should be in? There's lots of different ways you can look at it, and people will cite that I want to go down and be entertained in the football, but as I said, under Wagner, even some of them games, even in promotion season, not just in Premier League, were pretty negative football, really.
I kind of understood what we were doing with Wagner, though. I think that's like like we said,
I think that's probably it.
We're going back to last week's episode in a little bit, but I think it's just we were told to expect something from Carlos, and it's pretty much the exact opposite. And I think people are struggling to understand what they're seeing. I'm struggling to understand sometimes what we're seeing, because he sets up a 3-4-3, which in essence is an attacking system with a winger at right wing back, and we're quite negative. We don't create a lot. We're quite solid, which is quite good. We don't have a lot of the ball either. We shift the ball quite quickly, so possession wise we don't have a lot. So I'm not quite sure what we're trying to do at the minute, but I don't mind at the minute because we're actually 10th in the league, and like you say, whatever it is working. So I'm definitely not Carlos out by any means. Kosi, you're dying to say something.
Did you read that? Did you read that article? I don't know if you saw it, Matt. The Football League paper.
I did with this.
You said Crystal had another fantastic article.
With a cartoon you liked.
With a cartoon, great picture with the top.
Yeah.
It's a bit similar what you were saying there. Fantastic how he's been here for 18 months. What we actually kind of seeing, that got to let him off. He would have promised to run a football on about Bielsa and all this stuff. And he will have basically the people that are probably against him will could read that article and think right. And it was interesting when I tweeted. There were a lot of people saying again throwing the league table. I think that's the problem now. I honestly think that if we went on a run and win 6-7 games, I don't think people will come back. I think people have gone off him. The people who've gone off him have gone off him. I honestly don't think a playoff spot will bring him back. It reminds me so much of the Lou Macari day. I don't know what it is.
I think we just need we need something. If it's not Carlos, there needs to be a lead, some kind of leader at the club. We don't really know what's happening with the ownership at the minute, do we? Everyone's very quiet about the ownership, and they just say, business as usual. But so there's no sort of voice coming out of the football club, and I think that's the connection. The connection's broken a little bit, and I think if there's a player, if there's a player that we all love watching, if we have like we were talking about X Factor players last week, weren't we? Poz with like Karoma last year was a little bit X Factor for the first half, and then he got injured, but he's not really been at it this year. If we had that one player that we all went to watch, and he was the personality of the team, if you like, then people could connect with with what they're seeing on the pitch. Lewis O'Brien to an extent, and Jonathan Hogg, people connect with, but I just don't think they connect with some of the other players. That Danny Ward, for how well Danny Ward's playing, people don't really connect with that type of striker. And same with Sorba, people have gone off Sorba really quickly and thrown a lot of a lot of shade his way, which I think is a little bit unfair, but. So I think Dwayne Holmes is another one. Poz, you don't connect with him, but he's done okay recently, and I think it's just that, isn't it? That when you watch the team on the pitch, you don't feel connected with it. You don't feel the chemistry with it, and it's a really strange one because it's a decent team. They're doing quite well, but the crowd don't love them, and that's and I think that's cause why people aren't going to turn up if we start doing well, and it just needs something either.
Yeah, I always think it's telling them that when, Peter Jackson's blue and white army, Neil Warnock's blue and white army, David Wagner's, you don't hear the Carlos chant. Yeah, Carlos, Pammy, I'm at the football, that, whatever, that's kind of just a standard thing to say, but you don't hear that. And honestly, I don't think, even if you got an approach, it just reminds me so much of this Lou Macari. I'm not even probably comparing the football, although some might say we're pretty. I just remember that season when, against all odds, really, when we had, the budget, and obviously we went administration next year, but I just thought, bloody hell, this guy's doing such a good job with kind of limited resources and limited team, which...
Took Lee a night out and it was pretty poor, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it said in ours, which again it's up to debate and stuff, maybe a bit harsh, but it said it's very, limited group of players and stuff like that. So I kind of look what he's achieving with that. But honestly, I'm in another group with some guys, and they're saying they think we've got the players to do. They were using Saturday, like that's what can be done. Let them off the leash. We should be going forward more. Get some winning who can give us that kind of football. But I don't know. I've never been a kind of a Saka. I've always been a backer rather than a Saka. But it's like, yeah, I'd not meant to change, and I don't think Dean will if he does come back. But I just think people they're not going to come back to watch. They're not going to like Carlos, and it makes me a bit sad because surely he should just judge it on the job he's doing, which I think he's doing all right.
I'll read some comments out.
Because like you say there, you've got... Oh, sorry, Matt, I was just going to say, you've got people there that'll say, this is how we can play, flow it forward, throw it forward. But we do that and lose 3-0, and all of a sudden that's wrong. So sometimes you're damned if you do, and people go, oh yeah, but at least we tried, and we tried to win, and this, that, and other. And I get that side of it, but as I've said many times, if you're winning football matches, nobody cares how you've played. They might say, oh yeah, we won, but we played pretty poor on odd game. But then go 4 or 5 winning, playing that style, and by 5th win, no one's asked. No one's bothered that you've played long ball. No one's bothered that you've passed it around instead of trying to burst forward all the time because you've won. Boring football only becomes boring when you're losing.
Yeah, that's
just a fact.
Yeah. We were saying last week as well, we don't really think we've got the players to play, for sort of that expansive forward approach. And we were saying, weren't we, about Pearson, Tom Lees, if you have them stood on the halfway line, they're going to get absolutely murdered for pace on the counter, aren't they? So you have to balance a lot of things. And I think Carlos has balanced it, sort of. And to be honest, that's good management in a way, isn't it, from Carlos, to sort of have to say, right, I haven't got the players to do this. I'm going to have to go back here and do that. And for me, he's doing it. I'm not enjoying it, but he's doing a decent job. So we'll read out some comments. So Terrier7N2. So thanks to those guys who are watching and getting involved with us. So Mike Terrier7N2 says, great result versus Bristol. Still worrying about Carlos's negativity to try and hold on. I still don't see a proper plan. I'm still not happy with him. Also can't really see how Rhodes fits into the style of play. Joe Kelly away day says 50-50 on Carlos. This squad we've got is pretty poor and he's got us close to the playoffs. Having said that, his tactics and game management is very poor. And Tom says Carlos doesn't show any emotion even when we win. It's really strange. He shows a lot of emotion during the game when his sort of arms are flailing and he's going mad, isn't he, trying to control everything. But he's very... He does that whole Lee Clark thing I always quote, doesn't he? Where he's always like, don't get too high when you win and don't get too low when you lose. So he kind of... The game's finished and he's quite chilled, isn't he?
I know this kind of sounds a bit contradictory because I was like kind of sticking with Carlos, but I just thought it was so fake and forced that carry on at Bristol on Saturday. It was almost like whoever had the camera behind it, I don't know who does it now, it's not Dave Sykes, is it? But it was like, oh, Carlos, you need to go to the fans and show them. And it's like, I just think...
It's not his thing, is it?
Yeah, it's not his thing. Hang on a minute, last week you were criticising him for not showing any passion. Now I've got to the fans and you haven't gone at me again. So it's like, but I just thought it looked so forced, didn't it?
It didn't look natural, did it? But to be fair, when he did that at Magic Rock, Harry Toffolo, Pearson, and was it Harry Toffolo? Who else was there? Was it Lewis O'Brien? Was he there?
O'Brien and Pearson.
Yeah, he was. When I listened back to that because I couldn't make it, and I got the audio from it. Carlos was actually pretty decent, wasn't he? In front of a crowd, in front of people, he was quite engaging.
I just think I got the impression that was the first time I'd met him, obviously in person, and we had a little bit of a chat. No, not major, but obviously just before and afterwards, and everything like that. And when I was chatting to him, sort of just one-on-one, he seemed a really shy guy. He seemed a really sort of guy who, Wagner were a big personality. He just didn't seem to come across in that. He just seemed to want to... all he talked about were wanting to be better at being a manager. That's all he talked about all the way through. It were, I go home and I do this and I do that, and it's all about football. And I just don't think he's got that spark within him that people warm to. But then giving the microphone and, has obviously had the media training and all that sort of stuff. And he was quite jovial and full of banter. But I noticed at the end as well, he was just kind of like, right, thanks lads, good luck and everything. And he kind of got off. Didn't seem too bothered about...
You wanted him to buy a round, didn't you?
For too long. And it would have been nice, yeah. But do you know what I mean? He just didn't seem to be... some people are people and some people aren't. And I just seem he just falls into that category of, I just want to get on with my job, and my job is to manage football, not dance around on a pitch when we've won or run down touchline and dive on players when we've scored. And I just think he just wants to be the best that he can be, and people need to remember he's only been doing professional football for a couple of seasons. Everything else has always kind of generally been, in youth teams and stuff like that. And
it's really strange because sometimes you think he's learning and then other times you don't. It's really weird, isn't it? So I think progress seems to be one step forward, one back, one forward, two forward, three back. It's interesting, but I'm definitely not.
Which you're going to get with an inexperienced manager,
Yeah. So Joe Kelly away days. Kosi sounds like
if you want to hear any more views on that, everybody listen to last week's
exactly.
We've done this before.
Yeah. Joe Kelly says Kosi sounds like someone from Doctor Who. So I'm not sure if that's because his audio went a little bit funny or whether he's full Davros over there. But Cosros.
Oh God.
Harry Hall says football is a results-based industry for me. The rest is secondary. Just think he's a coach who wants to be on the training ground 24/7. And yeah, I agree with that. A lot of that. He's. I think Carlos is probably the happiest when he's at Canal Side, and I think the media stuff and all that is probably very uncomfortable for him. David Wagner apparently hated the media side of things, but he was really good at it, I thought. But Carlos for me definitely doesn't seem to like to, speak to Stephen Chicken. I'm going to tell Stephen Chicken that after this. Right, so let's move on. So we've done some YouTube comments. Dan Porritt says, I fully agree, Harry, so thanks for that, pause. And then, so we've reached the halfway point of the season, 23 games in. Who'd have thought we'd have got this far? So I think what would be quite fun to do is I like to go back to our predictions, and then throw them back at you guys. Do you want to know how we predicted Town would do? Some of these are quite interesting and some of them are not so good. Tom Bradshaw says Town 16th. Richard Burhouse, this the best one, says Town 11th after a flirt with the playoffs and they'll drop away. Jody Calvert says 12th. Ollie Fisher says 22nd. Sivan John said between 16th and 18th. Cameron Pope said 20th. Phil Senior 18th. Simon Copland 13th. Matt Glennon seemed to think we'd do all right this year, by the way, mid-table. And Matt Wilson gave a very political answer of not saying. So I had Town in 18th. Kosi had Town in 21st. And Poz, you didn't really commit. And yeah, you did me a video from Blackpool or Scarborough with the donkeys in the background, which is quite good. And then Poz, you said, yeah, and Poz said Town had just about stay up. So we're taking what we said last week, roll it into a ball. We take what we've just said as well. Huddersfield Town are overachieving this season. That's where it looks like, doesn't it? That this is the question, Poz. Huddersfield Town are 10th. They're above anybody's prediction halfway through the season. They're a couple of points off the playoffs. We all knew this season would be a bit weird, didn't we? Because the finances are biting a lot of clubs. And we knew Derby, Reading, and maybe one or two others might get a deduction. But why are people so annoyed then when Huddersfield Town are above anybody's prediction? It's really strange, isn't it? Because I can't sit here halfway and say, if you said to me, Matt, are you happy with this season? I'd be like, it's a bit boring, but they're doing all right, to be fair. That'd pretty much generally be my default response. But we're actually doing pretty well when you look at the level of opinion at the start of the season. And maybe January comes around, maybe Dean gets that mojo back, as Kosi said a few weeks ago, and we sign one or two decent players on loan, exciting players on loan, and maybe we see a different Huddersfield Town from Carlos. And I think to be fair, the further you step back from it, Poz, the better the job looks. And I think that's it, doesn't it?
And I think the good start, results-wise, raises everybody's expectations. So I think I said last week, if you would put that little bad run that we had, 5 games or whatever it was, if you'd have mixed and matched those results with the first 10 games or so, and you'd win 2, lose 1, lose another, draw 1, and mix the results up a little bit, I don't think a lot of people or as many people would be as despondent as what they are. I think when we had that good start, we were up there and you got a bit excited. You were like, oh, we're gonna be playoffs, and then we have that little dip in form, and all of a sudden it's quite rightly concerns come in because that's what happened last year, and then we dropped off the cliff. And the result against Bristol really, for me, shows that actually that might not be the case anymore. I was a little bit worried about that. The case of we're going to do what we did last year after New Year and really struggle, but the performance and the result against Bristol has kind of pulled me up a little bit, and I'm a bit like, well, we will have spells now where we where we lose 3 or 4, but I know that we've probably got it in as Locker to come back a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see if we've got Forest, Blackburn, and Blackpool in really short space of time over the next week or so. You get 2 or 3 results there, all of a sudden that those 3 or 4 bad results are forgotten about because we could be back in playoffs again and everything looks rosy. So as Kosi says, this league is so close and so crazy that 3 or 4 wins and 3 or 4 losses, you shouldn't really get carried away either way. I think we need to remember that a little bit and like you said, judge the season on the whole season, not just the last 2 or 3 games, because as you've just said, the further away you step back, there'll be clubs out there that are looking at Town fans mourning thinking, what the hell are you mourning at?
Yeah.
I hope I think I know you were going to mention it about Town fans in general, but it does seem to be that there's people out there who are positive about everything else, but as soon as you ask them about Town, then it becomes negative.
Mate, I did today with my chat boss in the stadium, and they had my chat. Like, I opened up what's pod this guy about as well. Probably jab me, throw me out next time. But so I took my top off out of this Town training shop and like, oh, you're a Town fan, are you? Well, I've been there since 1970. I was like, oh, you're having a good season, mate. I was like, you think so? Bloody rubbish. It's been like since 1970. Like, so mate, I come here for a boost and not like negative. And they were like, I just won't have it. And like, says, mate, we're having a good season here. And he's just like, oh, God. I just don't know. It's just mindset, I think, and stuff like that as well. Like, my mindset, like we just read out there, Matt, a tough season, and yeah, we still might end up that way. But it just made me laugh the other week, where obviously I didn't do the pod last week, but Coventry, when we were still in the playoffs and now they're slipping on the knee to. They were talking about us as playoff contenders, and I'm still a bit. I still don't think that, but effectively we are where with the points and what have you. But I just find it really funny, like Don Google mentioned all the playoff rivals and got 2 points against the playoff. It just doesn't feel like we're on a promotion chance, does it, at any point? But again, you look at the Christmas fixtures and let's hope they all go Fs. The first thing to say, but most people are going to rock up on. God, you get your days mixed up. Is it Saturday? It's still Saturday, isn't it? Against Blackpool, expecting to win. I don't think Keogh were involved last week. Well, I know he won't because I looked at the team because they had first win in about 9 Blackpool, didn't they? So they're a bit out of sorts. But then again, I'm talking myself into this. We're at home and there. This is the championship. Forget that. But then you look at the next 2, Nottingham and Blackburn and stuff. But you don't fear anyone, and no one fears us. So anything could happen. It's nice to be flirting, mate, with them playoff spots. But it's like Sheffield United. Their expectancy. They had a right win last night. What a goal that was, by the way. From there, got like Maradona, wasn't it? 86. But and all of a sudden, the top 4. I don't think anyone's up to much. We've beaten the 3rd and the 4th team at home, and. West Brom, like we might, kind of back rearguard action, but we played brilliant against Blackburn. But I'm looking forward to the Christmas games. Again, it's when hopefully they all played, and then when we come away from Blackburn, maybe we'll have some idea if we're, really contenders or pretenders and stuff. But I just can't believe we're having this chat because I never thought by Christmas we'd be chatting this way. And we've players to come back, Hogg for Echo, Alan Rowe, I think bench one.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So,
for
a few back, Jordan Rhodes had 20 minutes, so there's positives to come, and hopefully he might, dip it in his pocket in January, and we might.
Yeah, so just to be aware that the game is on Sunday. Don't listen to Kosi. The game's on Sunday. If you turn up on Saturday, it's Christmas Day, so don't spend Christmas Day on empty ground. Bill Gates is controlling Kosi, by his electric molecules in the booster. Let's.
Ooh.
I know I'm going all Leon Knight there, aren't I? Right, so I think I'll read out some comments because we're getting a couple in here. So Joe Kelly says, Carlos also had his hands tied. Be interesting to see what happens if Dino gives him some dough in January. That is true. Tom says, do you think Leeds injury crisis, Lewis O'Brien will be out of the door in January? Which is interesting because Lewis has, we believe now in his contract, a set release clause. So, if anybody meets that, then there's a problem. I was under the impression that Leeds didn't have a lot of money to spend in the summer and then managed to find 30 million quid down the back of the sofa for Dan James. And they've been linked with someone else, a USA international, for 20 million. And after losing 200 million in the last few years, or 150 million in the last few years, I'm not sure where they've got that money from. So I'm skeptical if they'll spend the money and come back in. But it could be someone else. He's having a good season, isn't he, Lewis? So, there's a couple of teams. Burnley could see him as an ideal sort of scrapper at the bottom end, Norwich, etc. So Brentford were interested at one point. So, there's a release clause there. And if someone meets it, then, it's up to Lewis, isn't it, whether he wants to stick or twist. So hopefully he sticks. Don't know how you guys feel.
Well, that stat, Matt, you posted that is O'Brien's the most tackles in the division. What was it?
61, yeah, is the most tackles in the championship. 61 tackles this season. Someone tweeted us, and it's really good when people do all the work for us, and we can just press retweet and get the credit for it. It's really good. Yes,
it looks like he's really enjoying his football on that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
That'll count for someone because going back to that interview, I think in November with can't remember which paper it was now, where I think it might have been the Sun or whatever, but he didn't want to be on a bench, in the Premier League. So let's hope I suppose that's the only worry, isn't it? If it's a Norwich or someone who maybe he might get on the pitch, but it's oh god, I was getting excited then, man. You ruined it.
Sorry, mate.
January.
Yeah, there's Joe Kelly also mentions Pippa is back in full training now, hasn't we? So our podcast mate Pippa, so he's so that adds a really good option, does Pippa? And potentially a change of system as well. Mike says again, can we talk Rolando Aarons? I don't think I want to talk Rolando Aarons. It's a real trigger point for me because I think we knew this was going to be a signing whereby he had those soft tissue injuries for the last 3 or 4 years, and we were suffering with that exact injury last year. And I don't think we really need to say anymore, do we? He was always going to spend a lot of time out injured, so I don't think we've probably done our homework on that.
Well, one of the biggest wasted times we've ever had.
Yeah, which is it's not entirely his fault, but is it? He's got these issues, but it's just it wasn't the best thought out move, I will say. He's still got 18 months left.
I wonder if we'll see him again in a town shirt.
Yeah, maybe.
Sorry, I thought he were only somebody.
I don't know. It might be. I think he's got 18 months, but we might find a way of paying him off. Harry Hall says they've been linked with John Swift. I think he means Leeds. They've been linked with Ben Barrett and Diaz as well. So I've got no idea where this is coming from, the money wise. He runs down the wing, pulls his hamstring. Viva Rolando. No, Leeds. No, Leeds. That was back to the Lewis O'Brien
Matt,
stuff.
say that again. Leeds have been. Who's been linked with Ben Barrett and Diaz?
The chest wankers. The chest wankers. We're not going to be linked with Ben Barrett and Diaz, are we? No.
I was going to say, I thought you said it was. I'm like, yeah.
No. Dean's feeling really flush this Christmas. Yeah. No. Yeah, he's only got 6 months left on his contract.
Sign him, just a request if any Leeds directors are watching. If you could sign him on January the 1st, that would be very nice. So we don't see him.
Oh, Joe Kelly says, player you could sign in January. Who would it be? Oh, that'd be interesting. Player we could sign. I think we need a creative attacking type, don't we? Probably through the middle of the pitch, a decent 10, but I'm struggling really to think of any realistically that we could go for, because I don't really know what our situation is. It's really, really strange. The other week I was thinking Anthony Gordon, a young lad on loan from Everton, but he's pushed his way into the team with their injuries. So, maybe that's out the window now.
I think a loan in that area would be the way to go if I were sort of looking at it, because you're not committing then, are you? You're not committing to anybody long term. You can give someone who's on edge of a first team squad in Premier League, 6 months to put the shells forward for next season. So,
I really liked Ellis Sims on loan at Blackpool. Yeah, I liked Ellis Sims last year, who was on loan at Blackpool, but he's around the squad at the minute as well. He's just come back from injury, but I think Danny Ward's doing really well, but I still think we're probably a striker short to properly share the load with him. And like someone, I think it was Mike said higher up, I don't think Rhodes really fits into that 3-4-3, does he? But he's there as more of a sub that you bring on. But yeah, so Casey Palmer rumoured to be available. Would you take him? I'm not sure.
See, are you going back to Casey Palmer as we had him? Then 100% I'd take him. But is he still the same?
It's hit and miss, isn't he? Hit and miss. I don't know. I don't know with Casey Palmer. I think it depends on his injuries. But let's move on, Cozzy Bear, to who we said the rest of the championship. Is the rest of the championship going as you thought it would? Cos, you predicted Fulham, Bournemouth, West Brom as your top 3. Good shout. And then Sheffield United, Stoke and Middlesbrough in your top 6. That's decent, that. It seems to be going. And then Hull, Reading and Blackpool as your bottom 3. Hull or Huddersfield, you said for 22nd, but you went with Hull in the end.
not doing bad.
No, top 6 is pretty good. Yeah, your bottom 3 is a bit. Actually, Reading's not a bad shout, is it? Now they've found themselves down there. But how are you finding the league?
I think it is, Matt. I think the big. I love it, mate, because again, it's a bit like the Spanish league. Watching obviously watch a lot of that. But the quality, from top to bottom, mate, I would say the quality in the Spanish league, the strength of the Spanish league is much better than it was before. But the big 3 are not a patch from what they were. So what you're getting now is games where you're not sure what's going to happen when the top's playing bottom and stuff like that as well. And it's good to watch, but you're not watching like the best quality. But I just think it's great because you switch your TV on or you go to the game or whatever. You don't know who's going to win, and that's what you want. So I love it in the Championship. Obviously, we will start for that in the Premier League. And God, you look at some of the stuff that's going on at the moment. They won't have many enemies. Not honest bunch, but with Leeds fans, one guy told me last week that I wish I were back in the Championship and they're doing their best to get in now. But like just because you don't know what's going to happen, it's that kind of excitement and stuff like that as well. So I love it. But I did think, they're having a play part, let's be honest, Fulham and Bournemouth especially. But I think that our biggest problem is going to be January in a strange way, because where you could look at it, we could be a positive where we could get that attacking midfielder we want and maybe put them, like say we might lose O'Brien and who knows with Toffolo and what have you. But I think I look at Middlesbrough and I think they're going to spend. There's going to be a lot of teams because everyone's close to that periphery. But then I mentioned that to Stephen Chicken when we were at that B team name dropping the other week, and he says he don't think so. He don't think he's there. So he's not expecting a big spending spree. So maybe just it's smart purchasing.
They're all looking for loans. There's a lad at Arsenal called Folarin Balogun, who's a really good young striker. He's really, really quick. We thought we had one in Meepo Bidicka, didn't we? But this Balogun's quite a decent young striker from Arsenal. I think there's about a cluster of 10 Championship clubs all circling around him, including Middlesbrough, which is what, so I think that might be it, because I think people will be looking at loans like that. And, it'll be the teams at the top towards the top 6 who'll get them. Like when we went for Rhian Brewster, your favourite, he chose Swansea over us, or got sent to Swansea because they were towards the top 6, and I think we missed out on Conor Hurahan, didn't we? At one point, we were linked with Conor Hurahan, but he's gone for the club where he thinks he's got the better chance of moving up the league. So, Poz, for the second year running, you predicted Fulham to win the league, which is really interesting. Sheffield United second, Swansea third, Forest.
At least they're in the right league this year.
Swansea third, Forest fourth, Cardiff fifth. They're having a stinker, aren't they? Middlesbrough sixth. The most interesting thing you did, though, Poz, was you said
get him off. He knows now this guy.
I know they said dark horse Peterborough United. And then in his relegation tip said Blackpool, someone else, and Peterborough to go down. So that was the best thing. He's tipped Peterborough to be the dark horse and get relegated. Amazing.
Just covering all angles there. They could have had a good season and they could have had a bad one.
Do you know what? I smashed it last year with my predictions, and this year I've had a stinker just the same as well. I went Fulham to win. I said Sheffield United to come second with the goals from McBurney and Brewster. I think they've got about 3 between them or something so far in 20-odd games. Bournemouth third, West Brom fourth, QPR fifth, Middlesbrough sixth, Town to finish 18th, and Coventry or Hull, and ended up going for Hull to get the third bottom spot, Blackpool and Derby. And Blackpool are doing really well under Neil Critchley, who's a really good manager. And Coventry are pretty decent as well. So, I think what's quite good is that this is such a difficult league to predict, or was a difficult league to predict. And it's fun. It's fun watching this all unravel. Like we were saying, Bristol City were 2 points behind us in 18th, going into that game on Saturday, and had results conspired, we could have gone tumbling down towards the bottom half. And as it is, we've got a decent cushion. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to the second half of the season. So it's Kosi by the looks.
I think you're bang right, Matt. If you look at you move on 2-3 weeks from, or 2-3 games from tonight, and some of those predictions might not be as daft as what they were, compared to now. So it's such a funny league, isn't it? You can literally travel up or down from, flirting with relegation to flirting with promotion on back of three results, depending on which way they go, which is ace. As Cosy says, it's exciting. You go into pretty much every game thinking, I've said many a time, someone will say, "Oh, after the match on Saturday, yeah, what do you think score will be?" And I've just said, "Look, if we lose 4-0, win 4-0, or it's 4-all or 0-0, I won't come away going, oh, didn't really expect that,' because that's just how it is, isn't it? Literally on the day, any result can happen, and that's exciting for me. I like that."
I think we're coming towards a natural conclusion on our season thing. A lot of us predicted a breakout player as Sorba Thomas. I think that one was a tap-in, wasn't it, based on how he'd done in pre-season. Scott High, I think, has done really well recently. I know Scott High gets a lot of detractors, and we addressed that last week as well. But him and Sorba Thomas are doing really well. But for you guys, if you had to pick your player of the year so far over the first 23 games, who would you go for? Because I've got 3 sort of standouts. But you may pick someone completely different. Kosi, who would you pick as Town's standout player over the first half of the season?
Lee Nichols, mate, been fantastic. From expectations to what we've got, I think he's been brilliant. It's not just his saves, really. It's just his calm assurance. Maybe he's even his shouser here.
His shithousing is great.
Game after game, but I just think any good side, you need to be. When you're a fan and you've got like a top, you can name all his promotion teams and his keepers that we've had there, and it just feels like, obviously this team probably maybe a promotion, but I hope so, but I doubt it. But you just know you've got a good guy there, and there's been a couple of games recently where he's come down injured, and having had a few around Schofield in that B team game, I've not been wanting an injury to our keeper anytime soon, mate, because the dip in quality, the dip that we'll get if you lose Nichols and Schofield, and it'll be huge. So to me, you can make arguments for definitely other people, and I'm sure you'll mention them, Matt, but for me, it's just Lee Nichols and Lee Nichols, mate. His defence has been outstanding, and he's been one of the reasons why we have.
He's one of my 3 that I've got here. Poz, who's yours?
We're going to say Nichols, but obviously because he's covered that. So if I were going to do a 3, I'd probably say obviously Pierce. Nichols, I really like Matty Pearson. I think he's a great asset. I think he's a good defender as a centre half formerly. When I could run, he sort of plays in the spirit that I like to play in. He'll throw himself in front of stuff, and he's quite a big lad. He's physical, and I like that sort of defender. And obviously Sorba Thomas, because he had a great start, and he seemed to have a little dip, which we're always going to come. We mentioned that on here. We're never going to play like that all Sunday, so I'll have to say him, or he'll punch me in the arm tomorrow.
Sorba, he got his shirt, didn't he?
They did, mate. Yeah, fair play to Ali Toffolo for sorting that out for me. You mentioned it at the Q&A, and amazingly, 2 weeks later, he'd not forgotten, and he sorted it out.
You get more free kit than Brookie.
He's still hung up in his bedroom.
You get more free kit than Brookie, don't you?
Shirt's still hung up in wardrobe, unwashed.
Unbelievable.
It stinks, but he won't let me wash it. So
yeah, my 3 players.
Yeah, that's off. But yeah, I'd say Nichols, Pearson, and Thomas.
Okay. Well, the 3 that I was thinking of was Lee Nichols was one of them. Tom Lees, I think, has been outstanding. I think he's been the pick of our defenders. Yeah. Tom Lees, it just really suits him being the commander in the middle, doesn't it, and organising the others around him. I think he's been superb, Tom Lees. And one player that I don't think anyone really mentions, because I think it's expected of him to perform to a high level, is Lewis O'Brien. I think Lewis O'Brien's been outstanding since about October time, really. Let it affect him, and he's carried on in a really good vein, and I think he's been outstanding, Lewis O'Brien, and I think he's gone about everything the right way. If he does want to move in January, then he's done everything perfectly, and that he's worked hard, and he's put everything in every game. And Lewis O'Brien, for me, is right up there as one of our top few players with Nichols and Lees, and they've been really outstanding. And people have been saying, Harry Hall says Lee Nichols is for him, Joe Kelly says Tom Lees, Mike Terry 7-2 says Nichols standout player for me so far. Colwell, Joe Kelly mentions Colwell as well, been a class act, won't be far off. Trev at Chelsea next year, true. Harry says, would you loan Schofield and sign a keeper in January? I don't know how easy that would be to do. Ryan, you've seen Ryan Schofield and the B team a couple of times, because he sounded like he struggled in his last game. Do you think a loan might do him some good? Get him out, fresh scene, and
I think just to get some football under his belt would be a smart move, to be honest with you. But yeah, I always feel sorry for keepers, because there's no hiding places, and yeah, I mean, that does begin absolutely arsing it down as well, and slippy conditions. Worst you want for a keeper, But yeah, I'd definitely get a loan spell somewhere else in that as well. But yeah, in Nichols, we trust.
Yeah, I'm the same. As for goalkeepers coming in, it's
even if you wanted to construct a decent argument for sorry, I was going to say you could even construct an argument for Danny Ward as player of the season if you really tried hard enough. So there's, again, it's you take a step back and you're saying here there's all these contenders for player of the year. It suddenly becomes not as bad a season as maybe.
you say you'll get some resistance from a few on that one. In terms of goalkeepers coming in, it's difficult to sort of know who's available. But someone at the back end of the career just to sit on the bench that if you had to put them in for a game or two and be quite solid, like Lee Grant or somebody like that, would be fine, wouldn't he? Sort of pushing 40 and, you throw him in the side and he'd be fine and, Nichols can continue. Something like that I think would be fine. But Ryan Schofield, probably, I doubt he'll go out. Rob Green. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just someone experienced to sit, isn't it? And
he always makes it. He's always about, isn't he?
What about Jason Luttweiler? Where's he these days? What's going on with Jason Luttweiler? So, that's it for me. That's it for me, really, this week, guys. I don't really have much more footballing stuff. Kosi, I don't know if you've got anything that you wanted to go through, in particular.
Just a big elephant in the room on COVID, mate. Unfortunately, because it just feels it's getting to go. I think Blackpool game will be our last game we can go for a bit. I just feel I'll be amazed if we get to Nottingham there. And obviously, you've seen what's happened in Scotland and Wales and stuff. Wales will shut it on for a bit and stuff like that as well. It's just gutting, really, isn't it? Because we always knew that we knew very understandable, but I think we like to think it was onwards and upwards. And I did have a glimpse kind of into the past the other week. There was a German Bundesliga, and I think some of the regions allowed fans in, but this one didn't. And God, it was rubbish, man. Like the voices and stuff, and it just didn't feel like football. And I'm just hoping it's going to affect the tennis side away, and it's definitely a boss it, because obviously you're going to get people who's, some people go whatever, but there'll be a lot of people be put off by it and that as well. And I don't know. I just hope let's hope we can all get that booster and we can kind of get back to something like. But you've seen a lot of games off, and QPR have been doing it tough out there at the moment. Barnsley's off. There's a few off already on Boxing Day, but yeah, I think it was the right move just to carry on. I don't know what you guys felt, but they've got a lot of criticism, haven't they? Some of the writers have come big on them, haven't they, with the Premier League and EFL, but I think it's fair enough, but I just think it'll be Boxing Day on it. I think we'll be done then for a bit.
Yeah.
Either the football's cancelled or we won't be able to get in. I think it'll be
closed doors.
Yeah,
I think it'll be closed doors.
They were saying tier 2, weren't they? Which I've just looked, and it were the 2,000. So they said they were looking at going back to tier 2 restrictions, potentially, which is capacity of 2,000. So you never know. You might be lucky enough to get in, if you can. But yeah, it's like, as Kosi said, it's such a shame, and you've just got back into normal life almost over the past sort of 5 or 6 months, and it's just a shame that, without getting too political, this has happened, and it doesn't seem to be having the impact that previous variants have. Yet we still need to be, living as lives like this. But there's smarter people out there than me that interpret this data, and is there something in it? Is it a political thing? Is it?
It's the scientists that are pushing for it, aren't they? So.
Yeah. Well,
I just want to finish on a positive though. Positive, do you get what I mean? Two things really. First thing is just like the community stuff that Huddersfield Town famous for. So there's two things that's been obviously we've had obviously you didn't have your vaccine in the stadium day, but I did, and again it's just a fantastic thing that, and I know most stadiums are kind of doing it, so it's not like kind of on its own, but I just think it's great. For me, that's what a football club should be all about, and I think it's great that like they're supporting this, vaccination kind of push and stuff like that as well. So that kind of made me proud a little bit today going to that stadium. But I know it sounds a bit sad, but that's what we're about. And finally, the Worthington Walk, incredible. I think it was £52,000.
Yeah,
that was. I saw kind of a LinkedIn post from Robin Deegan, and rightly proud of everybody who got involved with that. And again, it just shows our club in its finest.
Some great people. Some great people work for our club, don't they? So it's well done to everyone.
Fantastic. Yeah, and it's like the people that kind of got there and really put it in and that as well. It just shows what can be done. When there's like community spirit, and we can have those differences with players, and how the club's doing it, kind of on the pitch. But off it, we always come to the thought that we could write out so many things over the years that we do, and long may it continue. Love it, man.
Right, I've got two final things which are just a little bit of fun. So you can guess this online as well. So first one is, I'll say what the first one is, but we'll change it so you can think about it. If you could get a present or a gift for any town player, what would it be? So let us know online what that would be. So mine, for example, would be that new contract signed by Harry Toffolo. And what's your favourite Christmas song? So let's go with a Christmas song first, because this is always a contentious thing. Because my favourite Christmas song doesn't really sound very Christmassy. So
Mine's got to be Mariah Carey, I think.
are you a Mariah Carey man?
No, all others are rubbish.
Kosi, you want to really like dance music, don't you? So is there some kind of like Paul Oakenfold Christmas version or something that you're into?
Yeah. Yeah, like techno mix of Feed the World.
Santa is a DJ or something like that.
To be honest, I've got right into the Christmas stuff this time. Working from home, I'm proper belting my songs out.
Yeah, I saw you on Instagram. You had some good tunes on Instagram actually earlier. I saw that. Yeah,
I was just a bit of a piss take that about that last Christmas. It just, God, I gave it to David Wagner. I gave it to Toffolo.
Oh, mate, I've got.
It's just like insert manager, isn't it?
I was going through some of my videos to try and find something specific from a few years ago, and I found a video of you, Kosi, singing that I'd recorded it because I'm a knob like this. I recorded it from Instagram that you posted on Instagram, and it was you singing upside down, inside out. I'm gonna have to. Let's see if we can tweet that. See if you'll let me tweet that out for Christmas Day. But it's absolutely belting. There's you with a drink in your hand, absolutely sauced up, singing it in the background. It's brilliant. My favourite Christmas song is "Spaceman Came Travelling" by Krista Berg. That is that's my favourite. It's a really good song that doesn't get played a lot.
A bit deep, that, isn't it? Though, yeah.
Spaceman Came Travelling. Decent.
There's a reason why.
Anybody online got any message retracted from Harry Hall? Maybe not. What would you get them Christmas present for somebody? I've gone with the new contract signed and sealed for from Harry Toffolo to the club. Anything else from you guys? Anything you could think of off the top of your head? No one's saying anything online. I think we've stopped watching now.
Yeah, I basically whoever's in charge of our music and PA, I'll just buy them some new records.
Some Paul Oakenfold
songs every match and stuff. And
some Carl Cox.
You can tell we're doing all right with that with the crowds and that as well.
Music.
Yeah, no, it's all good, mate.
What did you?
Of course, you know what I'd get us. I mentioned it when I went to the trip, but big loud air, mate, speakers.
What would
on the microphone.
Kosi, what did you think of like the DJ that they had during the Euros? You know, where they had the DJ at the side of the pitch, like in tune with the fans, playing stuff out. What did you think of that? Do you think that was a bit forced, or do you think it was a good idea?
Yeah, I thought that was a bit forced. I went to a game the other week in Madrid, similar set to be fair, Carl Shed Law and stuff, but the difference was like, sometimes we said about our end where sometimes it's like 3 or 4 chants go at once, where the difference is there, they'll get a guy on a microphone, it's not like dictatorship, but he'll kind of lead the one chant and everyone will join in, where with that, because it's quite a big area you'll get.
Yeah.
And it's quite good, you have to think on your feet, don't you? Because like, I think that's just a British thing, we'll always have to do it, but I noticed like you'll get one going like, I don't know, la 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 la, and then at the back will be like, oh, this is a whale. Then you have to abandon that to start that whole chat. And do you know what I mean? It's just
not easy, mate. It's not easy.
Orchestra.
It's hard to be. I don't know how Catherine Jenkins feels, mate, when she's in.
Maybe we could get pause some of the orchestra sticks. I can't remember what they're called. The conductor sticks for for the Cowshed Loyal.
Mate.
Go on.
Has he got a fire certificate, Paul?
A fire certificate for the North Stand. That would be quite a good Christmas present, wouldn't it? There you go. What happened to Phyllis Nabisar? Tom said, I could play Phyllis Nabisar back to you, Tom, but I don't know if you want that. We've actually got a new Christmas video coming out on Christmas Eve. Cozzy's already rinsed me for that. So Feed the Ward, it's called. So watch out for that. I'll probably get banned within 5 minutes because it's got some music. So there we go.
It just shows, doesn't it? Nabisar, like we were waxing lyrical. It was fun, wasn't it, when we were giving it to the fans and we were loving it. But it just shows how well we're doing that. It's like he's having to wait. But anyway, that's taking it back to discussion. So I've knackered your ending.
No, Terrier 7 and 2. Mike says, as for a present, it would be Aaron Moy on loan. I think everybody would love that. A little bit of baldy goodness. We've only got Kosi delivering that at the moment. We need some from Aaron Moy, don't we? So come on, Poz, you've got away without this so far. So it's all on you now.
Oh, I don't know, mate. I don't know. I'd probably deliver Carlos that number 10 that he needs, just to just to give us that little bit more attacking impetus going forward.
Fair enough.
And I think we just add that one player to a side, and we will look a totally different setup. And I believe that Carlos would play a little bit more attacking. So, Mr. Hoyle, January sales, maybe just after Christmas we can get somebody in.
Here's to that. Right. Unless Kosi wants to lead us out with a rendition of Feliz Nabisar, I think that is the end of the podcast. Thanks to the 10, 11 people who've joined us online to watch that. It wasn't really planned. It's more of a test episode for future things. So I think this has gone reasonably well, hasn't it? So I think we can get back live and do more live episodes. So Kosi,
Get your mask off. Get that. I'm not singing it. You're not singing it, but I'm not singing it.
all right, I'll let.
I don't know what to sing.
How about Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart?
How about please now? I don't know, man. And it needs to end, mate. I'm not.
All right, here we go.
Under pressure.
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown. They're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be